we have an obligation not just to point out, potential errors and pitfalls that you can fall into on the field, but to coach you up so that you can avoid those things. And
Mm-hmm.
we underscore the importance of self-discipline. And so I think it's only right that we start there, to supplement everything that we've been breaking down from a tactical and strategy perspective as it pertains to solopreneur success and entrepreneurial success. So this is going to be a really, really good topic for us to get into. Out, uncompromise, 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 we uncompromise, uncompromise, we uncompromise, and I got it. Look, what does it take for you to be great? Keep it 100, bro, you know the answer. Pursuing your purpose, creating profits, building legacy. Anything less, how could you even fathom? Just sit back and imagine all that can truly happen when you pursue your passions. Yeah. So eliminate distractions and get back to that action. That's the law of attraction. You gotta build a team to build a dream. Family, faith, and focus. Counsel can only build a king. Are you prepared to reign? Cause whether you weather the weather won't change. Whether you weather the weather won't change. Stay true to the vision. Stay true to the mission. Gotta get to the finish. Take a moment to listen. And come and see it through our eyes. We'll show you what it means to live uncompromised. We're uncompromised. 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 We're uncompromised. 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 We're uncompromised. Yeah. Uncompromised. We're uncompromised. We're uncompromised. Yeah. Uncompromised. Uncompromised. You're uncompromised.
Welcome to the Uncompromising Entrepreneur Podcast, presented to you by the Uncompromising Entrepreneurship Coaching Group. Do you have targets? Are you constantly thinking about how to create value and build new businesses? Maybe you're trying to find innovative ways of doing business to replace old, outdated ones. And you are looking to truly find your purpose and reclaim your entrepreneurial birthright. Well, if that sounds like you, then you're in the right place, because we are here to talk to you. This is a show where we teach you what it takes to pursue purpose, create profits, and build a legacy. I am Jimmy Gonzalez Jr., and I am joined by my co-host, Devon Watts Jr.
What's going on? Good people.
Uncompromising family. Man, we love y'all. We appreciate you so much. We are over 1,200 downloads. So if you are part of that legacy, thank you. If you're a new listener,
12,000.
yeah, what'd I say?
1,200.
Oh, yes, 12,000. My bad. Not 1,200, 12,000. See, it's good to have a partner that holds you down, that covers you down, and has your back. 12,000 downloads. So if you are new or a loyal listener, please feel free to rate and review this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd love for you to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you have not done so already. Leave us a comment. Again, we love to get the comments. We love to engage with you guys, and then share this with another entrepreneur who you know can benefit from the hotness, which is the Uncompromising Entrepreneur Podcast. We are coming off the heels of our NBA series, which was episode 65. This is episode 66. And prior to the wonderful conversation that we had with Henry, even though slight technical difficulties, but I appreciate my brother Devon and the surgery that he did and the work that he put in on the audio. So if you heard it and you're like, oh, this a little off, but just a little bit, know that even with that, my man put in a lot of work to get us to that point. But we take accountability for that. We love Henry. Obviously, he is a friend. He's a barber, our barber, Devon's barber mainly, and a member of our alpha test for the From Purpose to Profits program, the inaugural cohort. So we appreciate him and having him on there. But prior to that as well, we were closing up our series of solopreneur success and talking about really why now is the time Today is the day to become a solopreneur. We gave you 3 reasons why we felt that this is really the best time to become a solopreneur. But we also gave you some warnings. We want to give you some positivity. Not that we were trying to give you negativity, but we want to give you, again, some warnings and some things to think about. One of the mentions was just the fact that while it is great to be a solopreneur, and if you're looking to leave, specifically leave your 9 to 5 and that security of the job and go into solopreneurship, there's some things that you should really take heed of first and think about. Time management, your ability to manage your behaviors, your will, and your discipline. Your discipline to make sure that you can block out distractions, focus on the priorities that you have in front of you, make sure that you're properly goal setting and getting things done and taking care of business. So we just felt like it would be appropriate to dive in that topic a little bit deeper and invest some time with you guys. Again, we appreciate you just joining us for this particular episode, but we felt like it would be a great opportunity to talk about truly developing greater self-discipline as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur.
Yeah, I like how you framed it up, the fact that, like, if you listen to the episode before the NBA, we gave you some positivity, and like you said, it's not negativity. What I think about, and what we're really all about is accountability. When we start talking about self-discipline and the importance of that as it comes to your entrepreneurial walk or your solopreneur walk. And so it's only right that we flesh that out just a little bit more, because as coaches, we have an obligation not just to point out, potential errors and pitfalls that you can fall into on the field, but to coach you up so that you can avoid those things. And we underscore the importance of self-discipline. And so I think it's only right that we start there to supplement everything that we've been breaking down from a tactical and strategy perspective as it pertains to solopreneur success and entrepreneurial success. So this is going to be a really, really good topic for us to get into, and one that I know we're extremely passionate about, because even before we started down this entrepreneurial journey, we had been honing, conditioning, and it has been instilled in us the value of self-discipline in many facets of our life, whether it comes to our faith, whether it comes to our family, our finances, and our fitness. And so I know that there's going to be a lot of things that we can pull from that underscore some of these points that we're going to be making as we break this topic down for our uncompromising family. So I'm ready to get into it.
Yes, sir. So to our uncompromising family, we have really four tips, 4 techniques that you should think about, that you can focus on and use, and hopefully, take steps to improve upon these particular areas. Again, so you can develop greater self-discipline for yourself. If you have a team, to lead by example and to show your team. And again, for you as an entrepreneur, but knowing the impact that your discipline is going to have on improving how you do things with excellence and improving how that is going to be relayed to your customers, your clients, and the people that you work with and that you serve. So we're going to jump right in. Devon is going to start off with number 1, and really removing distractions or temptation that we sometimes come across.
Yeah, so you've heard us talk about the importance of removing distractions, removing temptation when it comes to your entrepreneurial journey. We've mentioned things about, how distracting and how much of a time sink something like scrolling through social media can be, or perusing Netflix, even if you are binge watching for research purposes, to call back an episode that we did. It can still end up being a time sink and rob you of the most valuable asset that you have as an entrepreneur and a solopreneur when it comes to building out your business. And again, that is exactly it, your time. And so while that's an important component of it, I think it's also important when we talk about removing temptation to touch on other aspects of potential temptation when it comes to being an entrepreneur or solopreneur. When we go through social media, when you're, interacting on the internet, it can be very easy to get enamored with the highlight reel that everybody is producing for you, right? Like when you're looking at this stuff, these entrepreneurs, folks who, quote unquote, may be going through the same journey, are really, at the end of the day, there's a good portion out there that are only showing you the highlight reels or the the staged highlights, right? The staged highlights. As much as I grew up enjoying wrestling as a kid. My great grandmother, my other mama is what we called her. She used to watch it, and I got hooked from that age and watching Booker T and Hulk Hogan and all these other folks, Undertaker. At some point, I grew up and realized, oh, this is staged, right? Like, this is scripted. And while these folks are athletes, you don't want to diminish that. They're definitely athletes. But the things I'm seeing, like Stone Cold Steve Austin is not really the most unstoppable wrestler in the world. They scripted him to be that. The Rock is not the most unstoppable wrestler in the world. They scripted him to be that. Well, there's a lot of folks that you may be getting exposure to on social media that are entrepreneurs or building their business or whatever the case may be, and they're really not the most savvy, unstoppable entrepreneur in the world. They just scripted their Instagram to be that. And sometimes you can go down that rabbit hole of temptation and lust and idolizing individuals, and that take you off of your game or your purpose because you're so caught up in, well, how do I actualize that immediately? Not realizing that what you're seeing is not real results. And the folks that you should be gleaning from, learning from, leaning into are actually probably individuals who are not documenting every facet of their journey on social media because they're too busy doing the work. It's the small business in your area that has been able to maintain their doors through COVID. That's somebody that you would want to be able to learn from, lean into, ask questions about the things that they had to navigate and overcome. It's a person who jumped out on a leap of faith and started maybe on a small little side hustle. And over these past couple of months or years, you've seen that balloon into them being able to incorporate or get their own physical space or move out of their home and move into another location and grow their business that way. And while, that's not the sexy Lambo, right? That's not the sexy trips to Italy. That's where the real lessons and the real value is. And sometimes we can get so tempted by the flash that it deters us from the work. And so it's just important, like from a self-discipline perspective, that you're able to remove yourself from that temptation, be able to filter some of that and kind of discern what is real and what's rooted in results and what is, again, the stage highlight reel. What if this is wrestling and what if this is work? Right? What if this is real work? And so I think that's just important when we talk about removing temptation. So not just social media, not just binge watching and things like that, but also removing the temptation of results that are not rooted in reality.
Nah, you cooking over there, man. I love that. I love that. Even as we we're preparing to have this conversation and get into this topic, I wasn't even necessarily thinking about it from that perspective, but I love how you just broke that down for our uncompromising entrepreneurs out there. We do talk a lot about this in the sense that there's things that, tactics that you can and probably should do. You have to know yourself, right? So knowing yourself is important. When we think about our Focus for Success course, there's two main components of that. And you can go to uncompromisingcoaches.com. You can click on the courses tab. You can see exactly what I'm talking about. But there's Distraction Diffuser, and then our productivity secrets. So, and I know you were obviously the main one focusing on the Distraction Diffuser series and those 9 videos itself. But we talk about, knowing your personality, knowing what learning style, what working style is going to be best for you, what hours of the day you feel more energized and ready to get into work, and turning off your phone. If every time your phone pings, whether it's a social media, a text, and you're picking it up and looking at it, that's a problem, because those are distractions. That's time it's being taken away from this task, this project that you're working on. So being able to, again, diffuse those distractions, to remove the temptation from you. If you know that every time I get a ping, I'm going to look at my phone, put it on airplane mode. Turn it off, remove those distractions from you so that you have the opportunity to be able to lock in, to have that laser-like focus and using the Pomodoro technique, using apps like Engross and things that we've talked about a number of times to be able to say, okay, for this 25 minutes, for this 50 minutes, I'm going to focus solely on this work that I'm doing, this task that I need to get done. And I'm not going to check emails. I'm closing my email down. I have my phone either off on airplane mode so that I'm not getting those distractions, and I'm removing the temptation to, once I get that ping, to pick up the phone and to take a look at it. So many, again, different examples that you can look at. But I also love, the distractions within social media, which is just the distraction of the noise and other people out there that you may be looking to as mentors, the gurus, the self-proclaimed gurus that are showing things on social media, but that might not necessarily be how they're truly living life.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, we got 4 areas that we want to break down for you that are going to help you develop greater self-discipline. The first one, again, was removing temptation, diffusing that distraction that can be around you. The other point that we wanted to make is never think there's going to be a perfect time. So the number 2 point that we want to make is never think that there is going to be a perfect time. Again, depending on your personality, you may be a perfectionist. You may be one of those individuals that are always trying to get things exactly right. I love how Devon always uses the example of the iPhone and the fact that, we're on iPhone 13. And if they waited to perfect it, if you think about the iPhone, if you think about Windows and all these different iterations of these software and these products, if they waited to get it right, we may not have ever had this technology in the first place. So it's up to you to realize that there's really never going to be the perfect time to launch your product, to launch your service, to take that next step in your business. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be calculated, that you should not be use discernment in the decisions that you make, but just kick that habit of waiting for all of these things to perfectly align. You're waiting for the moon and the stars to align perfectly for you to embark on this journey, number 1, of self-discipline, but also embarking on that journey of starting your business, of allowing the world to see what you bring to the table and the fact that you have a solution for a specific problem that people out there have. And every day, every moment that you wait and you hold back, there's people out there that you can be helping that are not getting that help. Or they may find it, they may get it, but it's not going to be from you. It's not going to be as great, it's not going to be as good, and it's just not going to be, at the very least, it's not going to be as unique as it can be because they're not getting that solution from you. So when we think about looking for perfection, really my encouragement is for you to embrace the simple things, changing daily routines, breaking bad habits such as, again, negative thinking, and instead actively develop new habits, even if it doesn't really feel right in your mind, but you know that these are habits like turning off my phone, using the Pomodoro technique, using different applications that are going to help me be focused and get specific tasks done in a timely fashion, making sure that you're doing these different things, even if it doesn't necessarily feel 100% right or natural for you at the beginning. Do those things, but just start. Take those first steps instead of thinking, okay, when is going to be the best time, again, for me to go on social media and tell everybody that this is who I am, this is what I do, to launch that product, to send that first email, to make that first post, to hit the button and go live for the first time. Whatever that situation may be for you, again, start now, do your best. There's not going to necessarily really ever going to be a perfect time. Now is the time. Today is the day. Go ahead and get it done, and know that you have encouragement from Devon and myself to be there with you along the way.
Yeah, it reminds me actually of what I heard about heard on another podcast. Where essentially, he said something to the effect of, facts can be valuable, but foresight is priceless. Right? Facts can be valuable, but foresight can be priceless. And the reason why I come to that is because I think one of the pitfalls that I see a lot of entrepreneurs, we see a lot of entrepreneurs fall into is they're focused on the perfect time to start,
not realizing that what God is more focused on, what the universe is more focused on, is on the perfect timing of when it will be delivered, right? And sometimes you got to start now in preparation for the perfect timing of delivery being 2 years from now. I have to put in the work over this 2 year stretch, because the perfect timing for me for this to be delivered and where I'm really going to be able to take off is really, October of 2023. But if I wait for the environment to be perfect until then, I would have missed that. I would have missed that perfect timing, because I have not done that work leading up to it, right? And I go back to, we've talked quite a bit about, our appreciation in investing and crypto. Think about the folks that got the early bead, or had the seed planted about Bitcoin, and they're like, the timing's not perfect. I gotta wait till I see proof of utility. I gotta see if people actually respond to this. I gotta see if the value goes up, right? And they had an opportunity to get in when it was pennies per coin, and now because they waited for the proof, okay, now is the perfect timing, and it's $60,000 per coin. That again, that underlines that point about how facts can be valuable, because if you have a proof of concept facts, and you can get in, and there's still going to be an opportunity for it to grow. But man, foresight is priceless. For the folks who had the foresight when it was only a couple pennies, imagine how they feel about it, right? Imagine how they feel about that opportunity now when they took advantage of it. And so you may be on your journey saying that the environment is not right, the timing is not perfect. Don't focus on the perfect time to start, because the universe is already focusing on, God is already focusing on the perfect time for it to be delivered. So if you feel it in your heart, if you're getting these signs around your purpose and pursuing your purpose, and you know you have this calling, just do. Just do. And I think that there's a tremendous amount of momentum in just doing, because once you start to do, then you want to continue to do to keep it viable. If that makes any sense, you guys will follow me on this one, right? Like, once you start to do, that momentum is already going, and now you want to keep going because it's invaluable. Like, I think about back to track days or workout days, like, oh man, you get up early, all right, we got to go ahead and get to this. The hardest step in that workout is that very first one to get running. That very first one to get running. But once you get that first step going and running, the second step is easy, the third step is easy, and the next thing you know, you're almost not even thinking about taking the step. You're focused on the end journey, right? You're focused on the end journey and the destination. So, man, don't spend that much time, fixating on when it's the right time to take that first step. Just take the first step and watch how that momentum quickly shifts your focus to the end destination, which is all that really matters in your journey as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, love that. So again, to our uncompromising entrepreneurs out there, we are breaking down 4 different ways that will help you to develop greater self-discipline. So the first thing that we talked about was removing temptation, diffusing those distractions. We just broke down for you just the idea that there's never going to be a perfect time. Number 3 that we have for you is reward yourself for achievement. When we think about this thought of being self-disciplined, it doesn't mean that you have to become miserable or adopt kind of like, this cold turkey drill sergeant type of life and really looking to be so rigid with yourself. You're opening yourself up to disappointment, to failure, and the possibility of falling back into old habits when you take such a rigid approach. As a coach, and having coached in so many different spaces, over the years, whether we're talking about in the workplace, whether we're talking about being a fitness coach and a personal trainer, an entrepreneurship coach, a leadership coach, if you take the approach of like it has to be this way. These are the things that I have to get done. And if I don't do it exactly in this way, like it's all for naught, or everything is just kind of destroyed, or like there's baby steps that you're taking along the way that you really should look to, again, reward yourself, to give yourself a pat on the back, even if you haven't necessarily achieved the final results or the goals that you're looking for. But understand that you're taking steps, and progress is some of the most important things, right? Because it's not always about the end result. It's more about the process and how you're growing, how you're developing, what you're learning about yourself, what you're learning about the process, and how mentally, spiritually, physically you are improving along the way. To me, those are just some things that are highly, highly important. So again, think about rewarding yourself, relieve the tension of trying to be perfect. You, me, none of us are perfect. The timing is never going to be perfect. Reward yourself along the way, and make sure that you're just taking note of the accomplishments, the improvements, no matter how big or how small they may seem. These are all steps that you're taking in the right direction and getting closer and closer to the main goal that you're looking to achieve.
Yeah, man. I mean, we talk so much about the power of mindset, like the mindset. Outside of all the strategy and technique stuff that we study, we consume, we make sure we understand so that we can bring that value to our coaching clients, where we differentiate ourselves, that secret sauce is in our ability to also kind of talk to and connect with and inspire the right mindset as an entrepreneur. And when we talk about like rewarding yourself for achievement, it comes down to that. It comes down to the reinforcement of the right behaviors and the right mindset. Like I think back to, when I was first starting off in football, and my pops has always been a big proponent about like your mindset, whether it's visualization, whether it's manifestation, like just kind of those things, like self-talk, all of those things being so critically important. So it comes as no surprise that as a young and as an adolescent, as a jit, like those things were always being shared and taught and instilled in me. And I remember kind of my first time in high school, varsity practice in the whole nine, freshman, so low rung of the totem pole in the whole nine, and it's summer two-a-days. So this is you're kind of just like learning everything, demonstrating that you're still in shape, trying to learn the playbook and the whole nine, and just also trying to show a little flash of, hey, I got some ability, how I can play with folks that are older than me in the whole nine. And I remember, I had a couple of series where I had just not staying focused, not staying disciplined in terms of like my fundamentals, and took my eye off the ball, kind of, got my head upfield as quickly as possible, drop the easy pass. And I remember out of frustration and anger, just clapping, right? Like, right? Like, dang, I should have caught that. And I did that a couple of times, that I remember Pops pulled me over off to the side. He's like, hey, yo, let me holler at you real quick. It's like, bruh, he's like, you have to stop clapping after you drop the ball. And I didn't resonate. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you have to stop clapping after you drop the ball. He's like, all you're doing is reinforcing. You're giving yourself a mental signal, a mental trigger of reinforcement that's associated with failure and not being successful. And I was like, all right, I follow you a little bit, but I'm just expressing frustration. He's like, no, bro, you don't understand. What do y'all do on game day before you get ready to go out there? Right? Oh, man, we whooping it up, we clapping it up. And so if your mind is associating the clap with failure, with not being successful, with being in the wrong mindset, what mindset are you setting yourself up for when you go to play the game? Right? You sitting here, you clapping it up, and your mind says, every time we clap, it's because we're not going to do good. It's because it's not successful. It's because it's a bad play on our part. And it clicked for me in that moment, and I changed my behavior, and I stopped doing clapping when I failed. But what I did start to do is I started to clap and do things like that as reinforcement every time I succeeded. Broke a long run, hit touchdown, clap it up. right? Caught the ball, made somebody clap it up. Playing defense, I locked him down. Clap it up. Because it was about reinforcing the right behaviors and that feeling of success. And so think about how many times as entrepreneurs we fixate over when we fall short, and we create these unconscious triggers to reinforce this feeling. And they may be things that we do all the time. Maybe when we're not successful, we go and we say, man, I want to go have a drink, right? Oh man, I failed. I'm going to go have something to drink. I got to have something to drink, right? Well, how many times in your life, right, are you consuming, imbibing? Are you eating? Are you doing one of these things? Mm-hmm. And so what unconscious triggers are you establishing around these behaviors? And think about the times where we're successful. You and I have been guilty of this. Sometimes we just put our nose to the grindstone and it's like, all right, we achieved that. Keep it moving. But we don't take the opportunity to establish the right type of mental triggers and responses to reinforce those behaviors and those feelings of success. So that's why it's important to celebrate those moments of achievement. It's not just to kind of stick your chest out a little bit and, hey, I did that. It's also about affirmation, validation, and mentally preparing yourself for that next level of achievement, instilling that next level of achievement. That's why for somebody like Jimmy and myself, it was important for us to make a big deal about 100 downloads. That's why it was important for us to make a big deal about 1,000 downloads. So that by time 10,000 downloads came around, right, it was the mental triggers had already been established. The feeling of success it felt no different than when we had hit 100, because we had treated 100 that way. And so that's why we're sharing this with you guys as our listeners, as our entrepreneurs. Like, don't speak down on whatever level of success it is you attain. If you get 10 sales, don't dismiss it like, yeah, man, but it ain't 100, because that 10 is a part of the journey to 100, to 1,000, yes, to 1,000,000. And so you have to appreciate every single step along the way. You can't say this one step is more valuable than the other, when without the other, you couldn't have gotten to this one. So that's why we think it's just so wildly important that you're celebrating success along the way, no matter how small you may initially deem it to be. It's much more valuable than you think.
No, absolutely. As I'm listening to you, two things that I thought about. Number one, when you're talking about the clapping, and you know this, at Trinity Fitness, at the end of every class, we did 6 claps and a yes, right? And I always try to encourage everybody, like, really scream, give me some good claps and scream yes. Because regardless of how you performed, did you get as many rounds, in the AMRAP as you wanted to? Did you perform as well as you thought or you wanted to? Regardless, you finished. We got through it, and it was a reason to celebrate. It's just so important, again, to think about those things that again, that you see along the way that are accomplishments for you, and thinking about that. And then the other thing that I used to say a lot, and I still say today, is don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10, 15, or 20. Again, be very grateful, be very happy for the milestones and the achievements that you have made. We can look at superstar podcasts out there and say, oh, wow, man, we don't have 100,000 downloads, or we're not, we don't have 1,000 downloads per episode. No, but we're averaging about 150. That's actually pretty good. It's above the medium for average podcasts out there. And regardless, we're grateful, because every download, every time that we go into the system and we're checking the analytics and there's another follower, we appreciate y'all so much for following, for listening, for downloading these episodes. Because that's just, even if it's just one more person, we know that that's one person that hopefully this message that we are relaying and conveying to you right now hits you in your heart, hits you in your spirit, and makes an impact on you that is going to give you the inspiration, the knowledge that you need to take those steps. feel a little bit more confident about yourself and to move forward. And there's nothing, and even if we don't know, we hope and we pray that that is actually the case. That is definitely our desire as we continue to provide the hotness, which is the Uncompromising Entrepreneur Podcast. So again, definitely think about those positive mental triggers, and always remember that, again, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. It's just not going to be the best thing for you. So we are giving you 4 points to help you develop greater self-discipline. The first one was removing temptation, diffusing any distractions that are around you. Again, if you want to take a deeper dive, you can go to uncompromisingcoaches.com, click on the tab that says courses. There is the Focus for Success course that will help you to get more out of your 24. There's 2 parts to that. One of them is diffusing distractions, which gives you 9 videos. We have an ebook and so much more. Not just information, but really learning modules that are going to help you diffuse distraction, get a greater focus, and be able to achieve the success that you're looking to achieve. The second point is never think that there is going to be a perfect time, because it's just not going to be a perfect time for you. One thing that we spoke about in episode 64, again, just for showing appreciation, is one of the things is a quiz that we developed. If you go to the website, and especially if it's your first time visiting our website, we definitely would love for you to do that. You'll see an indication that will allow you to take this quiz. We're going to put it in the show notes. If you don't know if it's the right time, if you're thinking about, do I have what it takes to start my own business and to actually take those steps? Again, we've created a quiz. It's going to take you just a few minutes. It's about 10 questions, but again, very quick, that will help you to really figure out where you're at right now in your journey. And again, do you have what it takes? If not, again, we have some information to help you out. If you are, we'll have some different information to help you out as well. So please take advantage of those things. Again, as a thank you for us and to help you, again, continue to take those right steps moving forward. The third point that we made is rewarding yourself for achievement and for taking those steps, no matter how big or how small they may be. Don't forget to stop and smell the roses. We've talked about it on a number of podcasts from season 2 to season 3. We're not the best at that, so we definitely have to remember, be intentional, encourage each other as we're encouraging our uncompromising family out there. So Devon is going to break down the 4th tip that we have for you into developing, again, greater self-discipline for yourself as an entrepreneur. And that is, don't beat yourself up for backsliding or for making mistakes.
Correct. So obviously, at some point, you're going to fall into some old habits. You're in the process of creating new ones. We talk about the importance of self-discipline. It means, one, acknowledging your self-awareness that you have to make some improvements, you have to make some changes, and then being committed to actually making those changes. But the reality is, at some point, you are going to fall into some old habits. What's more important than avoiding falling into those same old habits is not beating yourself up about it, and more importantly, focusing on how do you pick yourself up and then recommit to your journey. That's where you really show your ability to be self-disciplined. It's not in the ability to, merely avoid pitfalls altogether. It's the ability to stay consistent or recommit yourself to these new habits that you're creating in spite of falling into some of those old habits. And you have to accept that there will be spectacular failures and fabulous successes along the way. You've heard us talk about, not getting too high, not getting too low, not resting on those peaks and then not sulking in those valleys. You have to acknowledge that there's going to be a combination of both of those along the way in your entrepreneurial journey. There's going to be days where you feel like you're on top of Everest because you closed a major deal. Something that you've been working on, an idea, has finally clicked for you. You think you found the next new product. You figured out a super cool marketing strategy and you're starting to see some results. Maybe you've gone viral. And then there's also going to be those days where you feel like you're talking to nobody, you're not connecting with your community or your tribe. You've popped in on live, you maybe have put all of your blood, sweat, tears, and effort into whatever you created, and then you press go live and nobody shows up. Right? We have to be able to acknowledge that there's going to be a combination of both those spectacular failures and fabulous successes, but also not get too hung up in frustration, guilt, anger, and instead rather acknowledge those mistakes as essential parts of the learning process. You heard Jimmy and I mention this before, and that's because we firmly believe this mantra, right? Our goal is to never take a L, and when we do take an L, it's never a loss, it's always a lesson. It's
yes, sir.
Always a lesson. So ultimately, developing self-discipline is going to allow you to live more freely by making choices that are positive and healthy, but also not succumbing to the pitfalls of backsliding and succumbing to guilt, frustration, and instead being focused on recommitting yourself to these new habits that you've been creating, and knowing that, again, this is all a part of the learning process. This failure does not define my today or even tomorrows. It's giving me information so that I can leverage it properly for my tomorrows.
Yes, as you were saying that, I was thinking about a recent post that I made on my Instagram page and on Twitter. Behind every successful entrepreneur, there were a number of failed successful endeavors. Just remember that you're doing better than you think. You're doing better than you think, and continue to push forward. Continue to be uncompromising. Ultimately, when we think about developing self-discipline, if you ensure that you remove any temptation and any distraction that you may have, if you remind yourself and realize that there's never going to be a perfect time, you reward yourself for achievements, no matter how small or big that they are. And I'm going to go back to number 2 is one thing that I've learned as well, right, is that God does not call the equipped, he equips the called. So if you put in the time, if you sought guidance and counsel, and you know that this is your purpose and what you're supposed to be doing, even if it's not the right time or you feel like you don't have everything in place, you don't need to have everything in place. Get started, take those steps. And as you're getting those small achievements, again, reward yourself for even some of the smallest achievements, because whether you realize it or not, they're making huge impacts either right now, or as time progresses, they will be making huge impacts in other people's lives, in your customers, your clients, or maybe just in people that are watching and observing you. And then the 4th thing was, don't beat yourself up for backsliding. Think about those things. Again, developing self-discipline will allow you to live more freely by making choices that are going to be more positive and more healthy for you, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, even physically. And of course, they're going to be more positive and more healthy for the people that are around you and the ones that count on you the most. And even if it's just yourself, you have clients, you have people that need your product, need your services. Again, it's going to be a much, much more positive engagement and interaction and collaboration with those individuals. So again, think about, I just mentioned the post. You can follow myself at Coach Me Jimmy G on Instagram, again on Twitter as well, Jimmy G Jr. You can also follow Devon at Leadership Docent, and on Instagram you can also again continue to follow us at Uncompromising Coaches as well. To all of our uncompromising entrepreneurs out there, again, we hope that these 4 tips and these 4 areas that we broke down in really developing greater self-discipline for yourself as an entrepreneur were very helpful. We pray that the encouragement along the way that was again very helpful, and hopefully it hits you in that right spot that encourages you and gives you what you needed if you were missing something, again, to take that next step and to have that courage to be able to move forward as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, whatever whatever that endeavor is. Maybe you've gotten started and you're thinking about scaling your business, and you needed some of these words to give you that encouragement that you need to continue to move forward. But we thank you for listening. We talked at the beginning, I said 1,200, but no, it's 12,000, over 12,000 downloads. We thank you so much. Again, as a thank you, we have an ebook that we would like to give to you. We have the quiz that we've created for you as well. You can go to the website, uncompromisingcoaches.com. Please check the show notes to get those links as well, to be able to get these gifts that we have for you, for listening, for watching, for rocking with us. The only thing that we ask as well is it costs you nothing. Show us some love, engage with us, leave us some comments, like and share this podcast episode. If you want to reach out to us, you can always do that. Send us an email, info@uncompromisingcoaches.com. If you have questions, you can put that in the subject line. And if it's something that you want us to talk about on the podcast episode itself, again, go ahead and drop those questions for us. Let us know. We'd be more than happy to interact with you in that way, and even, again, discuss some of the questions that you may have on the podcast episode itself. You could always connect with us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course our YouTube channel, the Uncompromising Entrepreneur Podcast. If you haven't joined the group on Facebook, the Uncompromising Entrepreneurs group is still there for you as well. We'd love to have you join that. Again, so many different places to follow us. If you're on TikTok, you can go there as well. UEC Coaches Pod. Again, you can follow us on Twitter as well. Wherever you're at, that's where we want to be. But more importantly, we just want to be able to serve, to help, and again, help you pursue purpose, create profits, and build legacy. Ultimately, that is our desire for our uncompromising family out there. Pay close attention as we continue to round out. We're getting so close. It's amazing how time flies, right? As the holidays are around the corner, we are approaching the end of season 3. Still got a few weeks to go, but it is definitely creeping up on us. But definitely be on the lookout for episode 67, where we're going to talk about how to generate winning ideas. This is a cornerstone of our From Profits to Purpose to Profits program, which is the essential beginning, creation, and ensuring that you have a concrete idea that is profitable, that is going to be sustainable. And when I say profitable, it's an idea, it's a product, it's a service that people want, need, and are willing to pay for. So we're going to talk a little bit about that again on episode 67, how to generate winning ideas. So pay close attention and be on the lookout for that. Again, engage with us, follow us. We appreciate you guys. Share this episode. Much love. Again, we appreciate any comment, any like, any share, any follow that you give us. It means a lot. Again, until next time, y'all, we appreciate you so much, to our uncompromising entrepreneurs out there and our family. God bless y'all.
Stay encouraged.
You have just listened to the Uncompromising Entrepreneur Podcast, hosted by Jimmy Gonzalez and Devon Watts. Thank you. And we hope that you pursue your passion, create profits, and build a legacy. Until next time, y'all.